Hello, welcome to the Offload podcast brought to you by Ballygowan, Ireland's #1 branded water.
Yes, it is. Tommy, Ballygowan is 100% Irish and is bottled at source in Newcastle West in County Limerick. Go on, Limerick!
Go on, Donners. It's also a proud sponsor of the IRFU and official water partner of Irish Rugby.
Yes, hydration is an essential component of elite sport, but it is also important that we all drink enough water daily. So grab yourself a bottle of Ballygowan and enjoy the podcast.
There we have it, Donncha. Good to chat to you again. Lots to discuss over the podcast today. But I do have to say, this is our third time getting started with the podcast. Have you got the microphone sorted yet?
I was told by Jason, our brilliant producer, to have it right under my nose, so I'm going to be like this for the rest of it. I'm sorry, Jay.
Well, with that nose, it shouldn't be too hard. Just keep the old bunkers away. Anyway, we obviously need to dissect the response to the Ireland-French match because it's been pretty vicious. Crowley starting for Ireland this weekend. That's going to be interesting, considering obviously the whole interest with Leicester Tigers and big money they're potentially throwing at him as well. St. Patrick's Day and the whole lot. Donncha, how are you? Any crack?
Yeah, all good. Like you said, Tommy, looking forward to St. Patrick's Day. Our kids all went off this morning dressed in different forms of green and leprechauns and all sorts. Half day in school, and then there's the good excitement to it, and then the match and the build-up and all that. So yeah, looking forward to this one. It like Saturday was tough, wasn't it?
It was tough, yeah. Like you, I had to FaceTime the daughter this morning because she was heading off to do Irish dancing in school. She's all chuffed with herself. Brilliant, so funny. Brilliant. So she could do with teaching me a few things because I have no idea as well. But yeah, the weekend was tough. But before we get to that, anytime I scroll on social media at the minute, if it's not Peter O'Mahony flogging a microwavable meal or Rob Carney with some car, it's you. Do you stick a GoPro into the fridge in Tesco's, a mobile phone? I mean, how embarrassing is it? Do you go to a different town to film these Tesco ads?
I should have tipped Jason off. I knew you'd come after me over doing that. I did a paid partnership for Tesco's, and you're right.
Oh, we know.
Yeah.
We spotted that.
Do you know what? It gave me a massive appreciation because I think we're all really tough. You know the way influencers is like a dirty word. Everyone's convinced they're all scratching their ass and making a fortune. What they do is very, very difficult. They're like, you have to be shameless at a point, don't you? Like, I was in Tesco's in Douglas. I know people in there, you know what I mean? Have to walk around filming stuff, and you're right, putting the phone in the fridge and different things like that. You make...
I love that you say. It's very difficult, but it's actually just shameless work. But as you say, you know, these are the things you got to do to keep the wolf from the electric gates. That's always your response.
You got to do it, Tommy. You got to do it.
It made me think of some of the ads that we've had over the past. Like, obviously, imagine how Johnny Sexton felt doing the Mace ads. You know what I mean?
That's so drinking.
Like, because Johnny, I could say, wouldn't be the easiest to try and get to do like 3 or 10 takes in these. I can't. You can see Pete's disgust doing the microwavable meals. His disgust.
Even go back further. Remember Dennis Hickey did one for Wavin piping. Like,
and he scored a try with the pipe.
Yes, let him, without sin, cast the first stone. Like, I've been in the Triton shower as well. You know what I mean? That used to pop up at games. Like, there is shameless things you do, but
I did Subway. We had a couple of sponsors, but yeah, Subway sandwiches. Like, I love a sandwich as good as anyone, but I wasn't the biggest fan of Subway. But listen, the price is right. I was there to
You can't say that, Tommy. You can't say that.
Oh,
you
sorry,
just didn't find the sandwich that best suits you.
Well, that was the thing. So we had to pick healthy sandwiches because it was myself and a guy, Louis Smith, the gymnast in the Olympics, a couple of people, but they'd picked all the ham and cheese and the chicken sandwiches, so all that was left was turkey and peppers and mushrooms. I hate mushrooms and I don't really like peppers in a sandwich. What I had to do...
That is the ultimate Tommy Bowe sandwich. Turkey, peppers and mushrooms.
So I had to do like, you are what you eat, and like eat this sandwich. But you know what the worst thing about it was? Because it was a great relationship I had with Subway. Might not be anymore. Not be anymore. But like anytime I used to turn up to do an event for them or school or whatever else we did, they would always have my favourite sub there. So everybody else would be eating the meatball marinaras and Cajun chickens, and they'd be like, Tommy, we got you your turkey, peppers and mushrooms.
That is a horrendous combo. Like, isn't it? To be fair, you needed to put the foot down there for like just standing over it. You could have made a good turkey sandwich, Tommy.
I could have, but it was this new healthy eating, so they're obviously trying to promote different veg, and the other people had picked all the tomato and the lettuce, whatever else. All was left was for the poor old Irish fella. Actually, he must love mushrooms.
Sure, he
and
loves
to throw in a few peppers as well.
Throw a few spuds in it. He'll love that. He's Irish. Give him a few potatoes.
I think it lasted a year or two, and then Subway waved goodbye to me. So thanks very much for that. I can now enjoy a normal sandwich.
Yeah, there's been shameless ones. It's not the first or last one I think we'll all get involved in. And do you know what? It's great fun slagging people off until you're in it yourself. So last week I was loving getting into Pete. I was there. And now that the heat is on from you and Carol Mullen are giving me an awful time, I'm actually I'm going red when it happens.
It was so funny because actually I did have a bit of a slag at Pete going how he afforded his lawnmower last week, and you were straight in, oh no, don't be throwing stones, seeing you. You recorded it.
I was recording it that day.
Who helps you with the camera? Does Jenny
a buddy of mine, Owen
no.
Durham helps me with it. Because I just wouldn't be able to get it. He's a beaut and gets it really well. Also,
very professional.
Yeah, and can I say something? He's brilliant with my kids. Like he plays cards with my kids and does tricks with my kids and stuff like that. So
okay, good.
Yeah,
well done. Well done. He's also scans through your stuff in Tesco's very fast too. So great. If you're going to watch the rugby this weekend, check out Donnacha's social media and you'll know where to get stocked up for it.
Well done, you. Come here. Have you like St. Patrick's Day traditions? You mentioned your little girl going off Irish dancing, but like, is there anything you do on the day itself? You like?
Well, go on. Yeah. Well, actually, we're doing Ireland AM on St. Patrick's Day, so I'm up at 4. We're down on air at 7 till 10. We're doing a whole show about what it means to be Irish. I've had a whole load of Paddy whackery. And then my school, Armagh Royal, are actually in the Schools Cup final up in Belfast as well. So I want to get back home in time to watch that as well. They're playing against Wallace. Oh yeah, I have to go to support the old school. Yeah, so that's
good on you. Brilliant.
So I don't know if I'm going to make it to the any kind of parades or anything else. But I guess it's all about green and have a bit of crack, and we might make some green buns with the kids in the morning because they're all off, you know.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, you're right. When my mom used to do a St. Patrick's Day dinner, and it was a typical kind of Irish dinner. It was bacon and cabbage.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Yeah. So really nice ham, but like, and she tugged it out like a tricolour. So your veg were like, it was like cabbage, mashed potatoes, and turnips in the order of a tricolour.
Well done, Mary.
Yeah. And then dessert was like green jelly, vanilla ice cream, and do you remember those tinned peaches? Do you remember those? The syrup for them was like the first ever energy drink. If you had like 2 spoons of that syrup, you didn't sit down for a week, man. You were racing around the place.
That explained you.
Yeah, she would tug it out like a tricolour on the plate or in the bowl every time, like, and I just thought it was always kind of Paddy's Day, you know the way.
Growing up in Monaghan, like the parade we used to go to, I mean, you think of the parade probably in Cork and Dublin. The parade in Monaghan was about 3 fellas with their tractors and they were pulling a few trailers along and they dressed a couple of people up as the local footballers. I mean, that was, so the parade wasn't something that we got too excited about back in the day. And then my mum would try and make an Irish stew or maybe bacon and cabbage, but she would then every time see a stew as an opportunity to clean out the fridge.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, it was just like there'd be peppers and mushrooms and everything.
And turkey. My mom had that. Mario Callahan used to do that. My mom used to do a curry on a Thursday night, and I'm genuinely, Tommy, right? You could be having chicken, and I could be having beef, and like my brother could be having fish. Like everything went into that pot on a Thursday night before the big shop on a Friday. Which is amazing.
Oh God. Well, listen, it's a perfect opportunity to clean out the fridge. Of course, Cheltenham is on this week as well.
Yes.
I used to love this week when you're in camp because the horses, you wouldn't be that interested. There'd be a couple of people who'd be big into the horses involved in the squad who'd always be maybe putting the odd punt and stuff on. But as soon as Cheltenham was on, it was always on the team room, on the big screen, Gold Cup, the Ryanair Chase, all these ones. And, you know, complete novices give away our whole win bonus or match fee. Of course, we didn't really have the gambling awareness probably that they have nowadays. True. But it was always a good week. But you used to didn't you room with Raj? Like, he obviously loved the horses.
Yeah. And of course, he was into it. He was great friends with Ruby as well. And do you remember Ruby was in Ruby Walsh was in training with Brian Greene, remember? He was trying to
remember with his leg.
That's right. Yeah. I remember Brian Greene saying he'd never seen core stability like it. He was there.
Right.
Oh my God, this guy's at a different level. Well, you'd kind of imagine that. Like, we were all like, why are you shocked that one of the greatest jockey of all time is deadly at core stability? You know?
And the rest of his body's hanging together in one piece. But Brian Greene, he was kind of the rehab specialist, so he came in and he did a bit of work with. But that was amazing actually when you think about Ruby and stuff coming into camp. But like, didn't you used to have like 2 TVs in the room?
This is right. Kev in the Killiney Castle. We used to stay out in the Killiney Castle, and I was into. Like, of course, national pride, you get into it, but I wasn't into racing the way others are. So, like, there's a few things I used to like, but Murder, She Wrote was a right little beauty. You know, after the rugby session finished, you'd had lunch and you're going on to do weights later or whatever the conditioning session was in the afternoon. So there was always time for a little nap. And I thought Murder, She Wrote was the perfect napping TV. So you watch the start, they establish all the characters, and it's going to be one of them, bar Angela Lansbury, you know, in the end. So whoever they show you... Exactly it.
Love that.
So I'd watch the first kind of 10 minutes, I'd drift off, and I'd get back in for the last 10 minutes. I'd be like, oh, hey, it's good to see the whole thing. But sure, when Cheltenham came, there was no chance of getting the remote off Raj, who, like, whatever about it, he loves it, man. I remember there a few days, his sense of pride for Irish lads doing well. Like we mentioned Ruby there, but any of the Irish doing really well.
Yeah. So proud,
so proud. I remember there was one race, like he had backed a horse, but Ruby was about to do something remarkable. Like I think I don't know what it was, but it was kind of like winning this race for 2 years on the trot or something, which would be. And him going bananas, and me kind of shouting at him, "You're on number 7, fella. You know what I mean? Don't be worried." And he's like, "Come on, Ruby."
You were like, Angela Lansbury's just worked out who the killer is, but just keep it down.
She's off on the bike now, Raj.
But like, even Joe Schmidt, he was big into horses as well. Did you know that too?
No,
so
I didn't.
I gather he loved the horses, and like, it was the only time ever in Joe Schmidt's era you would be late for a meeting, and he would put back a meeting if a race was delayed a little bit. Then he would be happy. Honestly, and I didn't know that it was because Joe loved the horse at that stage. I thought he was just being sound. But it turned out he'd actually punt on it, and he wanted to find out who won it.
He's there with Willie Bennett. Come on, you beauties. White flag is raised, and Joe Schmidt's off.
Good times.
Good times. But you know what else, though? It kind of gave you a bit of reality. I thought Cheltenham was great for... You knew you were working as well that week, but like, you got to see the scale of something as a viewer. You know what I mean? And like, at the time of us recording this, Ireland are winning, is it 9-5 in wins? Like, you count them, you know what I mean? So you like, that bit of pride, and you get to see it from the other side, and then you're kind of thinking, I get to make people feel like this on Saturday. Let's go out and do our best.
One of my biggest fallouts with my dad was actually over at Cheltenham. That he went off to Cheltenham with my mum and all his buddies, having the best time ever. And we were playing England, and we were staying in the hotel in Sion Park, I think. So he'd obviously been drinking all day on the Friday.
Good on you,
and they
Paul.
decided, shall we go down to the team hotel? We'll collect the tickets. So he turned up with the feather in the cap. He had the full. Honestly, the Cheltenham version of Paddy Wackery. I mean, a green tartan suit. I mean, honestly, and that he's a big man. And he came in and he marched into the team room going, "Is Tommy around?" And I remember Shane Jennings coming and goes, "Your old man's out there. He's making an absolute fool." He's
good on you, Jenno, for telling the truth.
And I came out, and you know, it's the day before an international. Do you know what I mean? You're trying to keep the head down, and you hear your dad's there propping up the bar, telling stories, having the crack.
There's Paul. What about her eyes?
Oh, exactly. I went down, I lost him with it. I was so angry. So anyway, thankfully he didn't do that again. But that's just what Cheltenham does. Cheltenham brings out the best in us.
You're not yourself the day before the match, though, aren't you? There's that giddy spell early in it, and then it starts feeling more and more like being on death row. Have you been to Cheltenham?
No, haven't been.
I went with Worcester. We went on one of our socials there, and I'll never forget it. Lads were drinking from breakfast, and by the time the first race started, I had to leave with one of our academy lads to bring him home because he was bent out of shape. I'm not going to name anyone, but like you're like, oh God, look. So like you're going out the way, and everyone's coming in the way, looking at you, going, what the. Yeah,
at the start of it. But listen, that's what it is. That's like the Guinness tent and stuff. People aren't there to watch the horses. It's all about the crack. I read
something that they were saying that the amount of Guinness consumed is going to be the equivalent over the few days of 3 Olympic swimming pools.
Well, we were just saying that whoever is in the head of communications with Guinness at the minute is doing a hell of a job. Being the front of the papers, it's about shortage of Guinness at the Cheltenham. Then there was going to be enough Guinness. Now they're going to be drinking the most amount of Guinness ever. I mean, it is not ended. So
well done, then.
Top tip of the hat. I mean, if you need a sponsor Guinness, you've Donncha O'Callaghan. He can stick a
swap it for Ballygowan. Here we go.
Of course. We should move on to the rugby segment now. So before we do that,
you're gas man.
Let's give a special thank you to Ballygowan Natural Mineral Water for supporting the podcast.
Yeah. Did you know, Tommy, that Ballygowan has also a range of flavoured water? Ballygowan hint of fruits. Look at these beauties. I'm going for strawberry today.
Okay, fair play to you. Good man. Get it into you. Get hydrated for the weekend because, of course,
do you know what I love about these?
We are both going to Italy. Yeah.
Sugar-free. They are sugar-free and they're available in all good shops. Pick them up.
There you go. Well done. Pick it up. Now, let's move on to the rugby. Ireland-France last weekend. I want to talk to you quickly about that.
I was just about to say to you, it's been done. Is the post-mortem over? Can we take the lads down from the crosses and stop whacking them?
Well, that's what I was going to say. We were going for a historic. What you were saying last weekend, it's the biggest match of all time, you reckoned. Of course, they lost the match, and to be fair, France in that second half were insane and just showed you could just have to clap at them because some of the rugby that they played was amazing. So fair play. It was hard to watch, I have to say. But you'd think we were bottom of the Six Nations with some of the response
that's us done
to that game, doesn't it? You know, you go from being at such a pedestal to the greatest of all time to all of a sudden losing in pretty bad fashion to all of a sudden throw it in the bin. You need to start afresh again. Yeah.
And look, I think the manner in which France played, there's no taking away from the quality they had. Both, like, I'll be honest with you, Tommy, I was in awe of the defensive performance. I know that isn't nuts and bolts great to look at, but the kind of, as we'd call it, like the gain line, every collision they won the far side.
France's defence, you mean, or Ireland's defence?
France's defence was remarkable. It really was. And I think it's a lesson to anyone. You know what I mean? If you love the game, you always want to see areas of improvement. But that was a blue wall. I agree with you. I think it's been overly harsh. Like, I don't want to make excuses. The lads, you know what I mean, will be disappointed with the performance. But if you're, and here we go now, and ring the bell if I'm acting a coward here, but we're missing Tyg Furlong, Gary Ringrose and 2 wingers out of, you know what I mean, a small playing pool. We're also missing our head coach. Simon Easterby's done a remarkable job. But you know what I mean? Like, just take England. If you put Richard Wigglesworth in there now for this campaign, you know what I mean? Or like any of them, we've seen how Wales kind of faltered in the middle of it. Well, they got a bunks. But yeah, I agree. I think everyone's been really tough on them. that I found really harsh was Joe McCarthy. All of a sudden, he's a punching bag because he gave away a penalty. Like, I'll be honest, I've done those. You know what I mean? Like, they are rushes of blood to the head. But
isn't it? It's hard to not when you see someone run past you like that. Some little, as you always take about ragdoll in the scrum half, you're just, there's an opportunity there to pull some fella back. But at the highest level, like, that's the discipline that costs us,
Yeah, it is. And I don't want to take away from the act, but all of a sudden, you know what I mean? Everyone's questioning the fella, you know what I mean? And same with Sam, now the lens focuses in because of performance as opposed to, like a few weeks ago wasn't even a conversation about himself and Crowley. It was like, oh yeah, the lads have this right. And now, here we go again with this kind of, they're making it a kind of divide thing as opposed to, performance thing.
Well, let's talk about that. So obviously, because James Ryan is back in, you've obviously Crowley's going to be starting at 10 instead of Prendergast. Henshaw, Ringrose back in. James Lowe, Mac Hansen back in as well. Good to see Tyke Furlong on the bench as well. But let's talk about Crowley because there's a lot of talk in the paper potentially being offered a contract with Leicester Tigers. There's rumour of it, 600k. It's a serious amount of money. He's very important to Munster, very important to Ireland. But do you think his head would be turned given how he hasn't been given really much of a chance in the Six Nations?
Yeah, just on that, Tommy, I know that money is massive compared to where we at, but that's where the market value is now. That's what you're playing for a quality 10. And I think the other way, I hope Jack gets every penny of it. I want those lads to be paid really well for, I always think salaries, when I've came away from the game, salary is compensation for what you're going to carry your body through the rest of your life. They take bangs and knocks, and everyone goes, 600,000. That is a fleeting window of opportunity for that guy to secure himself, and I wouldn't fault him in any way. I don't buy into the bullshit of you can't have competition for places in some positions. When did 10 become, number 10 needs to be run the week. Your leaders run the week. My ass that you need a number 10. It was different. I'm not just saying it, but Johnny was the leader. So that is very different. If he's worried, and I know he wrote about in his book that he wanted to know his starting. But you absolutely have to have competition for places in any successful organisation. If you're just looking at business, if you don't have competition, then you haven't got a chance. And I think, if that coaching docket backs Sam, then I 100% back it. Because I know those lads. They know what good is. But I do feel for Jack that he was never given an opportunity to fight for his spot.
Well, or maybe he was, and we haven't seen it on the training field. Maybe he just hasn't. He's had. We don't know. And as you say,
Donncha, hold on. My whole to training, to be honest, we all know the difference.
Well, he played in the autumn. He did play in the autumn. He played all last Six Nations. He played in a couple of those matches for Munster in Europe where he played brilliantly against Northampton, but there was question marks other performances. So listen, it, right? If you want to play and start for Ireland, and particularly in a position like out half, you have to be the man week in, week out and lead that team. And I would have thought the competition between Johnny and Rog, or even for that, Rog and Humph, both of them neck and neck fighting it out for their place. And sometimes you got picked and sometimes you... I even think of Rory and Jerry Flannery, because they were similar enough age and they were both being pit against each other. But you want that rivalry, and sometimes it works for you and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're saying the same point, but we haven't seen that up to this point. Jack has no minutes at 10. So how can you meaningfully have competition if he's getting more time at 15 or in a different position like that? I agree though, Tommy. You got to be the boss at 10, and if you're looking at maybe provincial performances, then you know what I mean. Fair enough. It hurts me to say it, but maybe he isn't behind the pack that what I mean. Could push on a little bit for him and make it look easy. And there was performances I'll go back from Northampton 2 seasons ago when they went down to 14 and Finn Smith looked like a magician in Thomond Park, and I was there, that's a scarring one, you know what I mean? But I agree with your point. Like, I think the lack of competition is what we've seen here, and I hope that Jack doesn't make an emotional response to that, and I hope Jack works back from being one of the best hens we've ever produced in the country and thinks long term, while also I don't fault him if he can secure his future. If he can make a few quid and better, he's, you know what I mean, he's
leave Munster.
It would kill me if that happens, but it wouldn't, like, it's a realistic thing now. Like, Munster don't have that type of money, and yet again, I think this bangs home for me that the central contract model is absolutely done. It's no longer fit for purpose. I understood the change of it. When there was more central contracts and we had them, and then the money got bigger, so you could narrow the pool to keep your most talented players. I 100% got that, fully on board for it. But now it's changed again, and all it is doing is making one super. You know, it's just looking after Leinster, and here's Jack, most likely, Munster going to lose him for what I feel is an Irish rugby problem. Like,
I agree, because it looks like Leinster have got 11 central contracts, I think. Connacht have Bundy Aki and Mac Hansen, and obviously Munster have Tyke Byrne. Obviously they've lost Conor Murray, they've lost Peter O'Mahony next season. The big thing is that, like, you're meant to give it to the starting team, but then you've got James Ryan, Joe McCarthy, Tyke Byrne. So they've got 3 second rows on them. They've got 3 centres, Ringrose, Aki and Henshaw, all on central contracts. So realistically, for the future of Irish rugby, they probably should have 2 out halves. Like, they probably should think that Sam Prendergast and Jack Crowley should both be in national. Like, I know England have a national contract. They have Finn Smith, Marcus Smith and Ford on centre, because they're so integral. Like, if Crowley was to leave Munster and to leave Ireland, you can't pick him. Well, they wouldn't want to. So
hold on.
But then the RFU are trying to save. The RFU are trying to save money too. You know, for David Humphreys, like, they have a massive loss as well. They're trying to cut. Like, it's a really, really tricky one, and it comes down to loyalty to the club. Or do you take the money?
No, I don't think that's fair to play on him. That is not fair to do to Jack.
But that's what the supporters would be thinking.
No, they shouldn't. There is no doubting him as a Munster man. But if there's an opportunity for him to do better, and, like, if you were Jack now at the moment, you would say, I'm second fiddle in Ireland. He starts this weekend. We know that. But, like, the main one to probably create competition for places was to give him a start against Wales.
Yeah, of course.
And that would have, like, imagine then you're coming into France and you're really picking who's playing the best. Whereas the horse is bolted. I'd love us to win the championship. I'd love us to finish as high as we possibly can. But it's unrealistic this weekend. Let's be honest about it.
It's a really tricky one, because he's Munster through and through. You're Munster through and through. I'm Ulster through and through. I left when I was 24 to go to the Ospreys. There was nothing against Ulster. It was just, I wanted to try something different. Ulster, you could say maybe we're going through a bad patch, and I couldn't get myself into the Ireland team no matter how well I was playing with them. I just wasn't getting picked, and I thought, like, if I'm going to try and get myself into the green jersey, I need to push myself and try something new. And went to the Ospreys, got myself back into the team. It worked really well for me. Who knows how it would work for anyone else? But, like, there's nothing about loyalty here. You realise when you actually become a player, or more actually when you step away as a player. You said at the start, these guys have got a finite career, a short window of time to try and set themselves up as much as they can for life after rugby. And if there is extra money there, you can't really go against them potentially taking it.
No,
can you? You know, it's a really tricky one.
I 100% would never ever question Jack Crowley's loyalty. You know what I mean? And he's exactly what we want. He's a young boy from Bandon Grammar. He's come through all the age grades. This is the perfect example of what we want to do with Munster rugby for me. And like, it's funny, like, this is one for you, but the last 2 matches, I remember asking my kids, you want to go? And first question, is Jack going to be playing? You know what I mean? He is the poster boy of that team. You know what I mean? He's the new Raj, he's the new Paulie, he's the guy they want to see. They want to be like him. They go out and practice out the back garden. You wouldn't believe how much Jake and Robin...
Remember... Nigel Owens, that's when he came on and we asked him what's going on with Welsh rugby. And one of the biggest things he said is that the superstars aren't playing in Wales anymore.
Yeah.
So for them to get the kids to watch, you know, they're watching Thomas Williams playing for Wales. But then if they want to go and see him playing for Scarlets, he's not there anymore. He's gone to Gloucester. So, you know, if you're losing the superstars, it makes it more difficult for the likes of Munster to try and keep the crowds coming back.
100% it, but like, honestly, Tommy, for me, it's a central contract model. It is no longer fit for purpose. I understood it and I got it, but now it is just benefiting Leinster. That the fact that they can sign Salmane on a 1-year contract, you know what I mean? If you're talking about all the money being in a pool, I understand they make greater revenue from doing things like Crow Park and the Aviva and stuff like that. But when you're, how many contracts is it? 11 contracts. You know what I mean?
Who are all pretty much paid for by the IRFU.
And I know there's brought in this 30% of the kind of playing pool, but like look at what we're potentially about to lose. You know what I mean? And I think
like Leinster, as you say, re-signed Slimani, the tight head prop. I thought there was a ban on signing props.
Munster weren't allowed to sign Bueller. Remember, brilliant Lucid that came in from South Africa and was really, really good. But yeah, look, we're all... Everyone bar the blue media is talking about that. You know what I mean? Whereas they won't open their fucking mouth about it. You know what I mean?
But then they obviously have Geordie Barrett brought in there. They have RG Snyman, who of course is there as well. Yeah, they're the sort of players that the other provinces kind of could only dream of at the minute. And listen, as you say, Leinster, credit to them. They have an amazing academy system. They're getting unbelievable crowds. They're paying for it because they're able to, but at the same time, if they're getting 60% of those wages paid for by the IRFU, they can afford to do that. But it is making the gulf between Leinster and the other provinces really, really big. And is the interest from Irish supporters going to be there whenever, is there a connection to the Irish team whenever there's nobody from your province in it? There is, but at the same time, for people who are periphery rugby players, I definitely think they'd question it.
Yeah. But look, it's hard to work out and try to get the balance of, we're only seeing kind of the outside of it. But we were lucky enough to be involved in it for a while. I thought the central contracts was a brilliant way to do it. It secured us not only from whatever about, leaving, but the player welfare side of it was through the roof, on top of it. But no, I understand the money has gone up, and the players deserve to be paid what they're paid. The wage for these guys. But I just think this, yet again, and maybe you're going to say I'm being parochial about it, but yet again it bites Munster in the arse. What I wouldn't have given, Tommy, that this policy was in place when we had 10 of the starting team. Imagine if Munster all had the central contracts then, and then you were able to keep going with the types of signing. Of course you have to sign the Barretts and the Simons if you're trying to fill the Crow Park every week. That's who people want to go. They are breakout players. But at the moment, I just look at it and kind of go, I hope this is solved maybe a little bit like the way Zeebles was, that the RFU would come in and support on top of it. But I just think it bangs home that the central contract model is becoming more and more of
a problem. It's a problem. Yeah.
It's always been a problem in that format now. You know what I mean? And I don't want to take away from their success, but I don't think it's fit for purpose now going forward. If we lose Jack Crowley, then you're like, what the... What? You know what I mean? What's going on?
What happens to other players exactly if they're missing out to this? Because you need those Irish players in the country competing, because you know yourself, competition brings out the best in all of us. And if Sam isn't... but if Sam isn't competing, doesn't have Jack Crowley on his heels, the Irish team will be worse off for it. Now, the one thing I don't like about it is that obviously Jack is starting this weekend. You click on social media and it's literally everything is Sam Prendergast up against Jack Crowley. And it's become a bit of a problem now. Like for those young lads, like they can't look at social media now. They can't go anywhere without them being pitted against each other. It's like, it's not healthy either, you know. And the abuse like Sam Prendergast is getting, I'm just looking at it now. They haven't done anything wrong.
No,
like, this
they
isn't
haven't.
for them.
Let's not be harsh. Sorry, this is a different. Like Sam Prendergast is an incredible talent. He has the potential to be one of our greatest tens of all time. We're not taking away from the fact. I think we're having a wider discussion, and I think you're right. This position has always created the most interest. If you go back to Campbell and Ward, Humphreys, O'Gara, O'Gara, Sexton, and here we have another live one. The only thing is the world has changed and people can have pops on social media. I know it's very easy to say the players shouldn't read it, but you know what I mean? That's unrealistic. They can't get away. Unfair.
And it's actually, it's not even the players reading it, it's their family.
Yeah,
their family read it, you know, and I know that even for me as a winger, you know, I was on only a fraction of what these guys get. But can you imagine their family having to, you know, this is the discourse that's following them everywhere as well. So, yeah, just I think, you know, we talk, let's all be kind. I know Marcus Horan, former player, teammate of ours as well, just put it out this week going like, listen, rugby is built on the foundations of respect. And I think that whether you're on social media or whatever else, you know, think twice before maybe posting something, and don't be just sitting behind your kind of false name or whatever else.
Yeah, and remember they're lads, like, you know what I mean? I know we might put them up as, you know what I mean, superstars and stuff like that, but you know what I mean, they hurt too, and you know what I mean, stuff like that. Like you said, Tommy, that hurts them the most. If I could finish on it, just I hope Jack doesn't make an emotional response. I hope he thinks, you know what I mean. I hope he gets 100% what he deserves. I want him to get, and like the value. I would love him to get his value. He deserves that. He definitely does. But
I hope he doesn't listen to this podcast, or he'll be off to Leicester Tigers next year.
I'm not saying
right.
That.
No, I know. I'm only messing. Only messing. Here, listen, it's a blockbuster weekend. Obviously, with Ireland losing, it's perfect for the TV channels now. They are delighted.
You got your Super Saturday.
Well, to be fair, I would like Ireland to have got the bonus point of some sort to at least make it competitive, and for France to not walk it as much as they did. But it means all three games, like it does come down to that France-Scotland game. If Scotland, called unlikely or not, if they can pull out a performance there and beat France, it's game on for the championship. It's class.
We never really talked that much about the knife that Wales and Scotland gave us for the World Cup. Remember when they didn't vote for us? Well, here's an opportunity to put that right, isn't it?
We'll look after you.
If you go out and bop England and then Scotland go and do France, there we go. All's forgiven. Fair play to you, lads. You were dead right not to vote for us.
I was involved in the team back in 2015, I think it was, when we won the Six Nations, but we played Scotland in the middle of it, and then we had to go, and so you got into your suit and you went upstairs and you had a pint and you were watching the match, eating your food. It was England against France, and all England had to do was win, and of course, or no, all France had to do was win. And if England didn't get the win, Ireland, of course, won the Six Nations. I'll never forget, you know, in the closing minutes, injury time, France decided to play it out of their own 22 or out of their own half. You're like, just kick the ball out, just kick the ball out. But it was amazing.
Every house in the country as well, because they did try to run it from in their in-goal area. Do you remember? You were like, what are you doing?
Couldn't believe it. But anyway, it was amazing to win a Six Nations with a pint in your hand. I mean, it's very surreal to go out onto the pitch, and some of the Irish supporters were still there and lifting the trophies.
To be fair to Murrayfield, they left them all stay and put on the match, wasn't it? So
there's about 10,000 Ireland supporters still in and watching on the big screen. So to be fair, it was a class occasion. So listen, you're saying there's a chance Dunners is all there for us this weekend.
Come on, Wales. Come on, Scotland.
Come on, Ireland.
Come on, Ireland, yeah. It'll be tough. Look, a lot of changes as well to the team as well, which is good to kind of keep it fresh and keep everyone motoring along. So, yeah, it's a bit weird, isn't it? It's like all the air went out of the Irish balloon real quickly. It's mad how quick it can go, isn't it? You go from, like we said, creating history to, most likely finishing third, which, you're right, has a massive financial knock-on to the RFU and then helps with these kind of decisions, you know. So yeah.
Well, this is it, exactly. Now Ireland potentially could finish third in it, which would be a huge loss from them thinking if they had won it or even come second. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting what happens around that with Jack and going forward too.
I saw this, Tommy. I don't know if you've seen it, but the winner gets like 7.7 million. The runner-up gets 4.1 million, and third place is 2.9. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like the difference there, 2.9 compared to 7.8 million. You know what I mean? For a team like the RFU, or a group like the RFU.
With the losses they had, poor old David Humphreys be sweating over this one. Listen, looking forward to that match this weekend. Fingers crossed, see how it goes. Of course, then next weekend, Ireland play against France in the start of the Women's Six Nations. We might
Kingspan, baby!
Kingspan Stadium, yeah, so that's on Saturday, 22nd of March. So I look forward to that all kicking off as well. But yeah, fingers crossed all goes well this weekend. Come on, Scotland and Wales.
Come on, Scotland and Wales.
There you have it. Thanks for listening to the Offload podcast, brought to you by Ballygowan. As ever, we'd love if you just subscribed. Please do subscribe. Tell your friends to take a listen for a bit of a laugh. You can scrub out the rugby if you want. And we'll chat to you next week.
We do. Slow on.